Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed my week's challenge of eating purely British produce on a budget. I certainly did, although I did miss coffee. I've got it back now though, so it's all good. Just a quick little disclaimer before I start telling you about what I thought of the week and things. If the dogs start barking in the background, they're not ours. They are the next door neighbours on the hill, and they're quite vocal in the mornings, especially as we have the windows open because the weather is so lovely. Right, so first thing I want to ask you guys is, on your budget of weekly shopping, do you think you could eat a whole week's worth of purely British produce? And that may sound pretty straightforward, but before you answer that question, I would really urge you to go and have a quick little look in your fridge and some of your the stuff in there, and despite the fact that maybe some of it is British company made, which is brilliant, are all of those ingredients British? I mean, that is the thing that makes this, that really opened my eyes to stuff. You know, chocolate, for example, British company, British milk, hopefully. 1st of June is Global Milk Day, so we've got to champion all the dairy farmers, yes. But cocoa, that is definitely not British. I mean, that comes from Asia and places. And peanut butter, oh my God, I don't want to live without peanut butter, but it is not British. It doesn't have British ingredients in it, so I gave that one up for the week. But that doesn't mean that we can't support British agriculture. That's the whole point of the Let's Go British idea, that I'm trying to put across the idea that yes, we need global imports and stuff. We need different varieties of food, but at the same time, we need to champion our own British produce and local companies that produce that. It's about, when we're in the supermarket, choosing the British chicken over the imported chicken. It's about having the bag of perfectly imperfect potatoes instead of the fancy ones from another country. And that doesn't mean that you have to sort of not splash out and things like McCain's chips. They're all British potatoes, so eat your heart out with that. And that type of stuff is where we're gonna make a difference. We as consumers are the ones that choose what is supplied in the supermarkets. We vote with our feet. So if we choose the British products, the supermarkets are going to stock it because that's clearly meeting the demand. And it was a classic example with the Polish meat that was supplied during lockdown, and people didn't buy it, so they had to sell it as a loss, and therefore it has not been restocked in the shelves. And that is us doing what we can then do for British produce. Going back to the week's challenge, obviously, as I said, I missed the coffee. It's not the caffeine that I miss, I just love a hot drink in the morning. So I'm sure there would have been ways around that had I sort of needed to find something long term. But anyway, I was surprised at how much I missed other foods though, because the foods that I did eat were so fulfilling, and the quantity was amazing. I was really surprised, especially like 2.5 kilograms worth of potatoes, how far that actually went and how much it filled me up. I think the thing that I missed was the lack of variety, because I was trying to do it as cheaply as possible. I did have the same meal every single day, and that's not something that I want to do forever, but for the sake of the experiment or challenge, whatever you'd call it, it was perfectly fine and doable. The chicken, I did miscalculate, or did a little blonde moment, not that I'm fully blonde anymore, and forgot that the 900 kilos of chicken would have included the bones, so therefore I didn't have quite as much chicken as I would have liked. But for £1.88, which was the price of that 900 grams, I would have bought 2 packs, and next time I'd hardly quibble over that. I mean, that's under a £5 for Class A British chicken, so that was really encouraging. And yeah, exactly. So I also then want to go on to how hard it was to find stuff in the supermarkets. I know I was shopping online, which makes it harder, but I've done a little bit of research, and most fruit and almost half of our veg in supermarkets is imported. And I accept that a lot of fruit, I mean blueberries and things like that, we don't have the climate to grow. That's absolutely fine, but strawberries, blackberries, we can definitely capitalize on the fact that we can grow those. And I really enjoyed having the strawberries each morning. I mean, I didn't miss them. I would tend to maybe have blueberries more so, but the strawberries, in fact, I'm going to start eating more strawberries because they are British. And so that's what we need to do. We need to try and move away or create different trends, I think, in what we choose to eat, and accept that fruit and veg is seasonal in this country. So, I mean, in the seasons where they're growing, really push hard to eat those fruits, and then accept that maybe when in the winter, I mean, when we haven't got those, we then move to the imported fruit. And going then with lockdown and everything, farmers have proved that they can supply people with veg. I mean, they have mobilised in such a brilliant way to supply more locally through the food chain, and so therefore we've proved that we don't need to import half of our veg from other countries because we can do it here. And I think that's something that we need to really, really champion as farmers. I mean, we have things like the British Red Tractor, which is a logo that's put on food to show that it's been produced to our really good, high standard, high quality British quality, the way that we produce stuff. And we need to champion that more. I mean, I found shopping online, it was really hard to find the fruits and the veg and the meat that came under that Red Tractor emblem. And so I think maybe going forward, a really good idea would be for the supermarkets to have a section in their groceries that is purely just Red Tractor, like quality assured British produce, so that consumers can easily go to that section on the supermarket website and it's all there. I mean, we need to make, the more accessible we make the British produce in terms of how and finding it and purchasing it, the more likely people are going to choose it. So I think that a unanimous packaging created with the supermarkets and the farmers together, so that consumers know clearly that that is a British produce, is going to encourage them to buy it. I mean, if you think of the amount of money that companies spend in producing the right packaging to make that product encouraging, we can do the same with British produce, and I think that that is something that we could definitely capitalise on. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to choose the first thing that catches your eye if you're really tired, and if it's the choice between two different types of leek, and you see that that one's British and that one's not, clearly, you'll just pick it up. I mean, yes, the supermarket that I bought the stuff from said not just where it was grown, but even the name of the grower, and that was brilliant. But it was this tiny little sort of centimetre or couple centimetres squared box at the bottom of the packaging. It was not clear, and I think that's something that we could definitely do. We also need to capitalise on the movement from lockdown. I mean, 42% of Brits now admit that they value their food more, and we need to therefore channel that into the British produce idea. We need to highlight what farmers do and how brilliant they are. We also need to be mindful of Brexit and how potentially there is a chance that imported meat would be of lower standards and it would make it cheaper. Therefore, then people need to be made aware of the lower standards, such as chlorinated chicken, and also made more aware of the higher standards of British produce, so that then they have the choice. If they want to choose that even cheaper, not so well produced meat, then that's their choice. But if they know that the one that's 50p more or something is British and it's been produced to a much higher standards, hopefully they would be deterred from buying the cheaper one. You don't know. So so that was sort of my opinion of packaging and how we can enhance, how I feel that could be improved. And what I want to definitely say is that I'm not advocating that we become this self-sufficient island of food production. I mean, that's ridiculous because it's not sustainable. We need a variety in our diet. I want different cultural foods. Do you mean that's the best thing about globalization, is that we've had the import of Indian cuisine and Chinese cuisine and all of that type of stuff, and we need to share that around. That's absolutely fine. But we do also need to remember that agriculture and British produce drives a major factor of our economy. The food and drink economy is the largest in the UK, and farming underpins that. I mean, the number of times you go to a restaurant and the most expensive thing on the menu, I know, is the British steak, because it's high quality, and so the farming underpins this economy, and so farming and, sorry guys, I'm rabbiting now. So the food and drink economy is the largest in the UK, and it inputs £120 billion into the UK economy, and farming is the backbone of that. I mean, we support that because restaurants can champion the fact that it's British produce, and therefore you're reinstating the money and stuff. And that's something that we need to remember, is that yes, we may not be in the forefront of the public eye, but we're there in the background, just sort of propping everything up. So yeah, I think it was a major eye-opener also in the fact of human nature. As soon as I decided that I couldn't have something, suddenly I wanted it. Ice cream, for example. I really like ice cream, but I don't eat it that often. Although for some reason, as soon as I had a week of not being able to eat it, I suddenly really wanted it. And I totally nothing to do with the challenge, but it just made me smile and really highlighted the sort of weird ways that our brains work. But anyway, going back to the Let's Go British idea, those were some of my thoughts. I'm sorry if they were a little bit confusing. If you guys have got any thoughts on my challenge and inputs into what you thought of it, that would be really brilliant. I'd love to hear from you. I will also be continuing this by doing a different meal each week, whereby you guys let me know what you want me to cook. I will cook it purely using as much British produce as I can, and also record how much it cost me. So sort of like finding out which are the most affordable British meals to cook for the family, for yourself, for anyone. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I will catch you soon.